right, I'm the Flat Rate Master, and today we're talking about, well, training is about useless if you don't practice what you learn. You take a communication class, but you don't see communication problems in your shop often. Now, that's getting rarer and rarer, but I digress. Or for me personally, I took Brandon Steckler's in-cylinder course. It's an awesome course. If you ever have the chance to take a Brandon Steckler class, take it. He's awesome. But anyway, I took that class. And unfortunately, at the time, I wasn't seeing a lot of, well, base engine problems that couldn't be diagnosed other ways. Now, I went out and bought a snap-on transducer. It's mediocre, snap-on scopes being what they are. But anyway, what the problem was is every time I tried to use those techniques, I wasn't as familiar with it as like right after I took the class. It's just a great example of what you lose not putting what you learned in class to practice. Meaning if you learn a bunch of good information, but then you don't apply it, it's going to kind of whittle away, especially as you get older. So what do you do about that? And this is where it becomes critical while you're taking a class that is something that you're not going to immediately apply to what you do, is really, really thorough note taking. And I mean, take and sit there and very clearly write down very important information and keep it with the book they provide. Like when the instructor is telling you really valuable information that may not be in the book, write it down. Keep very clear records of what was talked about in that class. That way, it triggers memory. I know a lot of the younger generation are very visual learners. That's why YouTube's so popular. But what you can do is take that knowledge, write it down in a way that is very relevant to how you learn. Put it in a way that makes you understand it. Because once you translate it into how you think, it becomes much, much more valuable. Especially after it's been like 6 months since you took the class, you can go back to your notes in that book. Oh, that's what I need to do. That's how you learn different techniques without being able to immediately apply it. Because that's one of the worst things about taking training classes is you go learn a bunch of great information and then you're doing breaks and, other stuff. And, you're like, oh, I got to, apply that communication, stuff I learned in communication class to the real world. And, of course, it's like when you buy a tool, you buy the tool and those jobs just stop coming in. I think I've told this story on stream, but, like I bought the hub grappler back in the day. The shop owner bought the Mueller Kipps hub setting tool so you could put it in a press. And we were doing like 2 or 3 hubs a week, wheel bearings a week. And they like all dried up. Like it was a month before I did a bolt-on bearing. It's just like all of a sudden as soon as we had the tools. So anyway, that's the same thing when it comes to training is trust me, you go get that training. You could be having communication faults every day, struggling with them, trying to get better. And then you go take class, you understand it a lot better, and then they just evaporate. Believe me, been there, done that. To give an example, PJ's EVAP course on Toyota Systems. Awesome course. Another instructor, really go take his class if he's in town. But, he had a lot of great information in that Toyota class. And it reinforced a lot of the stuff I've already known. And like, no Toyotas came in with evap faults. Like I got back from STX in 2022, I guess. And like, I didn't see a Toyota evap fault for a long time. And like, I was, almost to the point of wanting to keep a Forerunner gas cap in stock because I was replacing those like candy at one point. But anyway, so that's the thing. When it comes down to training, that's not something you're going to be doing day in, day out. Really spend the time taking those notes. detailed notes in a way you're going to understand is going to reinforce what you learned in that class. When it comes down to it, you can digest that information because you wrote it in a way that you understand. So I hope this video was helpful. As always, thanks for watching. I am the Flat Rate Master.